Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our presentation on Northcoders and our bootcamps and the application process. So my name is Maureen. I'm part of the onboarding team, and joining me today is Elenia, who's also part of the onboarding team, and David, who's part of our teaching team. So in this presentation, we'll talk about our courses and the course content. We'll also discuss which bootcamp might be the best fit for you and walk through the application process so you know what to expect. And we'll also talk about what life is like as a Northcoder. And at the end, we'll have time for questions. So throughout the presentation, if you've got any questions that come to mind, please do write them in the chat. Either Elenia or David will be able to reply to them in chat, or we'll keep them for the end, and then we'll have plenty to discuss during the Q&A time. So to start, I'll let David talk to you about our bootcamps.
Hello, everyone. My name is David. I am one of the tutors at Northcoders. So I'm going to talk to you about the three different bootcamps we have to offer: the software development bootcamp, the data engineering bootcamp, and the new boy in the scene, the Java bootcamp. Can we move on to the next slide, please? Thank you. So we'll start off with software. All of these bootcamps are 13 weeks long. The software bootcamp is broken down into, all of them are broken down into several blocks. So with software, we will focus on the fundamentals of JavaScript. We'll work through an introduction week where we're going to get you up to speed with how we work here at Northcoders. We'll teach you some of the fundamentals of writing code and developing code, as well as engineering approaches. We'll have a look at the fundamentals of JavaScript, including test-driven development, pair programming, introduce some concepts such as object-oriented programming, before we have a look at the applied side of things. With software development, we're going to have a look at two large sections. First off, the back end of things. So all applications will have what we call a back end. That is essentially behind the scenes how the app works. So connecting to things like databases, making requests across the internet, all of these things which you don't really see as a client, we'll be focusing on that first. So that will introduce things like APIs, asynchronous programming, so doing things and knowing that they're not going to complete just yet. They're going to take a while to complete. And also introducing SQL as a tool to integrate with databases. After that, we'll move on to the more creative side of things. So we'll have a look at creating the visuals for your app. So you've got the background of your app. Now you want to create the visuals, the interfaces. How does a user interact with your application? After we've put those two things together, you will have a fully working portfolio piece that we will describe as a full stack application, both backend and front end. After that, you'll be put into project groups and you'll be set to design your own full stack application using really any tools that you want to use. Cool. That is software development. Let's move on to data engineering. Data engineering, very similar process at the beginning. We've got these intro weeks and we've got these fundamentals. However, we're going to swap out JavaScript and we're going to use Python. Python is a programming language which is really good working with data and numbers. Very similar in a lot of respects, but we're going to teach you the fundamentals of kind of building, working with code, engineering techniques, as I've mentioned already, but also what makes Python Python. So there's a few extra things thrown in there with Python, which we describe as kind of like the Pythonic approach. After that, we will have a look at backend with Python. Python is really nice to work with as a backend language. So building up these servers and these backend tools, which will be used to interact with data and to manipulate data however we may need to. Because data engineering and Python is not really a tool you would be building beautiful websites and exciting apps with, we don't have a front end side of this. What we have instead is we have a look at something called DevOps. Now, DevOps is working out how to get your code into the place it needs to be and make sure it's running correctly. So you would have heard things being mentioned, such as like the cloud. We'll be working with tools around the cloud to make sure that our applications we're building are running efficiently and running in the correct place. Weeks 9 and 10, we'll have a look at more applied techniques. So things like extract, transform, load, ways we can take data and shift it into the shape we want it to be and put it into the new place. We'll also have a look at modeling techniques and orchestration and other parts of architecture which are relevant to data engineering. Project phase, very similar. You'll be given a group project which will be focusing around a fake company which will requires their data, dare I say, engineering into the correct format, so they can get their data scientists involved and figure out some conclusions from the data that they're seeing. Cool. Moving on to Java. Java's the exciting one. Java's the new one we've got. Again, you'll see very similar trends going on at the beginning of our split. So week 1 is intro week. It's about getting you familiar with the course, how we teach, and the tools we use. So it'll be a gentle introduction to Java. We'll be thinking about how we can break down those problems using pseudocode. Now, Java is slightly different to Python and JavaScript in the sense that it works in a different paradigm, okay? And this is what we call, you see those letters OOP, that is kind of the main focus here, whereas the other languages, we kind of drop them in as a later kind of, oh, by the way, it can do this as well. So Java is more interested in this thing called OOP. You'll learn loads about it on the course and how you can make it work to your advantage. So that will be the main focus during your fundamentals sections of this course. Then we have a look at the other side, which the other 2 languages focused on, functional programming, and we'll have a look at asynchronous programming and all those little bits which make Java one of the more popular languages. Java is great for backend as well, just like Python. So we'll focus on building something called an API and integrating with databases, very similar to what we were doing in the software engineering course. And again, we're going to have a look at the DevOps side of things as well. So how to get your code into the right place, deploying that code and making sure it is running the way it's meant to run. There will be a project at the end. It'll be a group project again. This time focusing around Android mobile applications and building web pages as well. Okay, and that's Java. So 3 very different subjects, but also they have a lot of overlap. We're teaching you engineering practices across 3 different sectors. So which one is right for you? Possibly the hardest question I could answer on this slide. But software development, do we call it development engineering? I can't remember. Software side of things. That one is probably the best choice for you if you really don't know what you want to do. If that one is a little bit more beginner friendly, I would say. JavaScript as a language is a really nice, friendly language. It lets you get away with a lot of stuff, which can be really nice, but also probably should shout at you a little bit more. If you really have 0 experience with anything technical, I'd say this one is probably the safest bet. It's also really nice to get you into other fields as well. So once you come out the end, you're not stuck with just being a software developer. All of the fields will get you into a technical understanding where you can move across into other departments as well. Data, a little bit more mathsy, a little bit more technical. If you're really interested with how data works, manipulating data and integrating systems with those databases, then data is a choice for you. Java, Android applications. If you have any interest in that whatsoever, then I would say Java is great for you. But Java is also a much more established language and is usually used by larger corporations. So if you're interested in where your first role will be, you'll probably find that Java is used by the larger corporations, whereas smaller companies will use something like JavaScript. So software is better for you in that respect. And I think I've answered that question. Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks, David. So hopefully now you're looking forward to actually getting started on the bootcamp. But first, you do have to go through the application process. So to give you an idea of what to expect, the application process is the same for all of our bootcamps. So even though they then end up teaching you a different programming language, first to get started, you will start with easy JavaScript. You don't need to have coded before or coded in JavaScript or at all. We will give you everything that you need to get started. When you create an application with us, you'll get access to our JavaScript basics course and also some practice questions. So you can learn all of the basics of JavaScript that you need to pass the entry challenge. So the entry challenge is some coding questions, all in JavaScript. You'll have 1 hour to answer as much as you can. And then afterwards, you'll have a half an hour call with one of our tutors, and you'll just be discussing your code and explaining your reasoning behind what you wrote. It is important to keep in mind that we do give you a maximum of 2 attempts at the entry challenge. So do make sure that you are feeling prepared and comfortable with the basics and the practice challenges when you book your entry challenge. We also do offer some extra support to help you prepare. We have Slack channels available. If anyone doesn't know what Slack is, it's basically like Discord or Microsoft Teams. And so on those channels, you can ask questions and you can get help from other applicants and from tutors. We also hold drop-in sessions 3 times a week. I really recommend attending one of those when you're preparing for the entry challenge. They're very useful. Basically, it'll be a Zoom call with a few other people and a tutor, and the tutor will be able to run you through some practice challenges. So it's really helpful to have someone actually demonstrating that logic while coding to you. And of course, any questions at any point, you can always reach out to the onboarding team. So either by email, it'll be at the end of this presentation if you need it, or we also have the live chat on our website, or you can call us on the phone as well. So our next upcoming cohorts, the newest one starts the 15th of April. That will be for our software development bootcamp and our Java development bootcamp. If you are hoping to join that cohort, I would just give you a heads up that we are starting to fill up and we do have a limited number of spaces. So if you're interested in that date, it's time to start your application now and take it seriously so that you can make sure to pass your entry challenge with plenty of time to secure a spot. After that, we'll have a new start date on the 3rd of June, and this time we'll have our software development bootcamp running and our data engineering bootcamp. So in terms of paying for the course, we do have 2 options to pay. One is the advance payment, so you just pay up front the course fee, in which case you would get the £500 discount. And the other option is an interest-free payment plan, so you would pay by installments over 24 months. So for both of those, we have 2 tiers available. So you can see on the screen, we have Northcoders Core, which is a bit cheaper and is basically the full 13-week curriculum, support from tutors and a mentor and so on. And then we have Northcoders Career Plus, which is all the same, plus additional career support as well. I will talk about what the career support actually entails a bit later on. It might also be good to know that we do have a limited amount of government-funded scholarships available too. So there are some criteria that you need to fulfill to be eligible for one. So you need to be 19 or older since August 31st, 2023. You need to be currently living in England with the right to work in the UK. There are also residency requirements. So for the most part, that is having lived in the UK for the previous 3 years. There are some exceptions though, so if that's not the case for you, but you think an exception could apply, you can reach out to onboarding and we can help you figure out if that's the case for you. You also can't have recently taken part in another government-funded skills bootcamp or in formal education that would be similar in terms of curriculum to our bootcamps. So for example, if you've done a university degree in coding, that could impact your eligibility. If you did a university degree in something unrelated to tech, that wouldn't be an issue. And by getting the scholarship, you are also committing to actively searching for a job in tech immediately after you graduate. So I mentioned earlier the career support that we offer. So basically, we have a careers team who will help you while you're already on the bootcamp and for up to 6 months after you graduate with everything you could need throughout the application process for your first tech job. So that will be coaching on CVs and cover letters. You can have mock interviews. They will help you get your LinkedIn profile as perfect as it can be. You'll have one-to-one sessions with career advisors, which is perfect if you have, specific or personal questions that you'd like advice on. And you will also have access to our exclusive jobs board, which is where our hiring partners advertise roles directly to Northcoders graduates. We also do find it very important to foster a positive environment on the bootcamp. So we will host opportunities outside of the coding curriculum, so like our lunch and learn lectures or our alumni buddy scheme. And we also have personalized support available from our pastoral team. So, for example, any mental health things that come up during the course, if you're feeling stressed, a bit overwhelmed, you will always have someone you can reach out to for support. So what makes someone a good fit for Northcoders? Really, we're looking for people who are passionate about learning, who are committed to changing their career, have good communication skills, and aren't afraid of hard work. This is an intense and fast-paced course, so you need to be ready for that. Some ways you can show that you are a Northcoder throughout the application process and the bootcamp is to check your messages and emails and get back to us in a timely manner if that's needed, to manage your entry challenge booking and make sure that once you've set a time and date, you can actually commit to that. And of course, always attend during course hours and when you graduate to dive into your job search. And if you have career support, then also making the most of that. I'm going to take a little break and let David take over for a bit.
Hello, me again. This slide here is to talk about all of our graduates who have come from Northcoders and how different they look. So what does a Northcoder look like? It's more about their attitudes toward learning and their attitudes toward wanting to change a life more than anything else. We have people going through Northcoders who have previous experience in retail, previous experience in creative roles. Some people are more technically minded and may have some more relevant experience, but really it does not matter. Northcoders is not aiming this at anyone with any particular experience. You just need the drive to learn and to change what you want to do right now. It is a boot camp, and by definition, boot camps are hard. It's designed to be completed within 13 weeks, which means it is 8:30 till 5, Monday to Friday, which is tiring and very intense. We know because every single member of the classroom team has gone through the boot camp themselves, so we have felt the pain that many of the students do feel while still on this boot camp. But in the same breath, it is also incredibly rewarding. And still for me, seeing students progress as quickly as they do on this bootcamp. It is something that's incredibly fulfilling and something that is incredibly rewarding. And it is I'm getting like a little bit tearful now. It is something that shouldn't be taken lightly. It is a hard task, and it is something that if you want to make that change in your life, if you want to get into this field, then I would recommend that you do it. Okay, but again, marketing don't want me to say this, but it does come with a warning. It is flipping hard, but it is not impossible. We are here to support you every single step of the way. We know the challenges will come ahead.
Thanks. And thank you everyone for attending. I hope this was useful. If you have any questions, now is the time to write them in the chat and we'll be able to go through them. You can also see the QR code on the screen. If you haven't started an application yet, you can scan it and we'll take you straight to our application form. And at the bottom of the screen, hello@northcoders.com is the email address for onboarding if there's anything that you need to email us about. So Elenia, if you want to read out some questions.
Hello, yes. Hi, my name's Elenia. I'm going to ask Maureen your questions so she can answer them. The first one is, what are the time requirements for the 13 weeks?
So as David mentioned, this is a full-time course. It will be from 8:30 to 5, Monday to Friday, for 13 consecutive weeks.
Amazing. Thank you. Is there a set pass rate for the entry challenge?
No, so there's not like a specific grade that you need to get to pass, because I mentioned you have a feedback chat afterwards with the tutor, and whether you pass the entry challenge or not relies on this a lot, because it's not just about the code that you've written and the amount of questions you have successfully coded, but it's also about how well you can explain the code that you've written to a tutor. So I would say to focus less on answering everything and more on making sure that what you do answer, you do understand well.
Amazing. Thanks, Maureen. I'm just quickly going to catch up with the chat. How many scholarships are available and do they go quickly?
So we do have a good amount of government scholarships available for each cohort, but it is a limited amount. So usually about like a couple of weeks before we start is when we run out. So I would say, to be on the safe side, aim to have passed your entry challenge a month before to be sure that we have scholarships left. It really depends from one start date to the next. Some months we run out of scholarship places earlier than others. So it's worth checking on the website. The website will always be updated and let you know if we still have scholarship spaces available for a cohort start date. But yeah, do keep in mind that a couple of weeks before we tend to run out of spaces.
Thank you, Maureen. And are there any evening classes?
No, I'm afraid we don't do any evening classes or any part-time boot camps at the moment. At the moment, it's full-time boot camps only.
Thanks, Maureen. After the course is over, do you need a university degree to get a job?
No, so that's the great thing about a boot camp is it can kind of do the same thing that a university degree would do, but in a shorter amount of time, because we focus really on the practical side. So during the boot camp, you will be doing practical projects, and you will then be able to put those together in a portfolio. And when you apply for a job, you then have proof that you do have those skills because you have your portfolio to showcase different practical work that you've done. So even without a university degree, you can then go on to start your first job as a junior software developer or data engineer or Java developer.
Thanks, Maureen. And what are the differences between attending in person versus remotely?
So for the most part, it's pretty similar in the sense that all the lectures and the seminars are live on Zoom. So you will have the same content whether you're attending remotely or in person. If you can attend in person, it can be nice because you do get a bit more of that social side. You can actually, when you do paired work, you'll be sitting next to someone and working through coding problems together. Whereas if you attend remotely, then it would be over Zoom. So that's a little bit different. but content-wise, it would be the same.
Thanks, Maureen. And can you tell us a little bit more about the job prospects after the bootcamp? How likely is it that you get a tech job?
So once you graduate, you will have all the skills and knowledge that you need to start a junior role. And so out of the graduates who take up the support of our careers team, 91% of them find a junior role in tech in 59 days in average. So you do have a good chance of starting that tech role that you're hoping for. But absolutely do make the most out of having that career support. It can really make a difference.
Amazing. Thanks, Maureen. And do we do hybrid working where you can mix and match attending in person and remotely?
Absolutely, yes. A lot of people do like doing that. So you'll need to let us know the first day you want to come in person, just so we can make sure you have access to the building. But then from then on, you can do whichever works best for you, coming in on some days and attending remotely on other days.
Amazing. Thank you. And what are the options for people who don't currently live in the UK to do the bootcamp?
So you can still do the bootcamp if you're not living in the UK, because as I said, it's accessible completely remotely. So depending on what country you live in, I would just say to maybe think about time difference, because you would have to attend from 8:30 to 5 UK time. But otherwise, you can absolutely do it from anywhere as long as you have a good internet connection.
Yes, I would also just add that if you're not living in England, you're not eligible for our government-funded scholarship places. And if you're not living in the UK, you're also not eligible for the interest-free payment plan. So if you're living outside of the UK, the only way that you can access the bootcamp is through an advance payment currently. If you've got any questions about that, feel free to drop us an email. Next question. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the question. Is there a lot of group work and practical work throughout the day?
I think maybe David can take that one.
I could say that one. We have a mixture of solo work, working by yourself. Currently, my students in the other room are working by themselves. I hope. I'll double check. We have solo work. We have paired work where you'll be working with another member of the cohort, and we also have group work towards the end. So we do have a mixture of all three. The paired work and the group work is not optional. It is something that we think is incredibly important, because not only do we teach the coding side of things, but we also get you comfortable with talking technically to individuals and defending things like defending your code and moving people into making coding decisions and arguing your point as well. So it's important that we do have this communication as part of the course.
Amazing, thanks. And it's 5 o'clock. Marie?
Well, that's all we have time for then. If we didn't get to answer your question, feel free to email us and we'll be able to get back to you and answer any questions you have. But otherwise, thank you for joining us. I hope this was a useful presentation and I hope you have a good rest of your day.